Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Kickoff podcast. Today, we're on a United show today, Keane on United. And again, today, I'm joined by Owen Rochard from the Cockney Red YouTube channel. And also, I'm joined by Tim from Niagara MUFC. Lads, how's it going? How's it going this Sunday? How are you feeling after kind of a wild, I suppose, of not too much wild game yesterday? Usually with Manchester United, there's always like a lot to talk about in terms of drama and, goals scored in the game, but yesterday we had a scoreless draw against Chelsea, and the game kind of flattered to deceive. Everyone thought this was going to be a high scoring game, but it was a 0-0 draw. So how are you feeling? How are you feeling today about the game? Tim, I'll come to you first.
I mean, it is what it is. Obviously, like you touched on, there wasn't much going on with it. Neither team really created anything. Few half chances, sort of good save on Rashford's effort just towards the end there by Mendy, but there wasn't too much doing. Yeah, it was tame. I mean, you would have thought with the defensive issues that both teams were having that there would be goals in this game, but I thought on a positive note for United, obviously kept a clean sheet. The game was there for us to take, so we certainly could have taken all 3 points, especially when he started to make the changes in the second half and sort of bring on our bigger players. I would have gone mental if Cavani would have scored that one off the corner, the side foot effort. But yeah, all in all, I mean, you take the point, you move on. It could have been worse, but I don't think it's as bad as some people are making it out to be honest. But.
And Owen, how would you assess yesterday's game? Because again, it was the starting lineup kind of raised a few eyebrows. Daniel James was in there, though we had a midfield kind of two of McTominay and Fred again. How would you assess kind of yesterday's game?
In terms of Fred McTominay, I've no issue with it. I've a massive issue with Alex Telles not being in that side. Alex Telles was amazing against PSG, great crosser of the ball. If you got Telles putting it into Cavani on his head, he's going to score at some point, isn't he? And then in terms of the way Tuanzebe performed, I know Maguire and Lindelof did have a good game, but how can you perform that level against such an elite side? It's not like he performed like that against Colchester or Rochdale in the League Cup. It's against PSG at the fucking Parc des Princes in the Champions League. It doesn't get much bigger than that. He's played out of his skin. How does he not get into that starting 11? I just didn't understand that selection. And Daniel James, for me, I've said it. He's just fast. I don't understand it. I don't know how he gets in the team. He's not a Man United player. I just don't see it. I see him at best as a squad player, at very, very best. That he should not be starting for Man United. Simple.
Yeah, and you even look at the starting 11 yesterday was more a system rather than a team that was going to win the game. It's like Ollie wanted to play a certain system to kind of, I suppose, stay in the game. Because look, we've seen the 6-1 against Spurs. When we played kind of the supposed big players, there was a lack of system and lack of balance in that kind of starting 11. And look, we were took to cleaners, that day with regards to that. But again, with Daniel James, Owen, you touched on it there. You're saying he's not a Manchester United player. I don't even think he's even an elite football player. People even made comments during the week saying he should be playing corner forward from Mullinahone. He should be playing Gaelic football rather than, actual football. Do you know what I mean? And I nearly agree with that. Again, he seems to be just a pace merchant. That's literally all he is. And I touched on it yesterday. I believe with Daniel James, he lacks a football brain. He really does. His decision making is so poor. There was times yesterday when he was attacking yesterday that he was very kind of not decisive in decision making, and what it would ultimately come to then is that we were kind of looking towards getting Cavani on. He should have been starting. Rashford should have been on that left hand side yesterday. Cavani should have been up front. But look, I suppose that's a learning curve for Ollie. Though he knows now. Look, in the big games, there's no place for Daniel James, and even going forward with Manchester United, there's no place for Daniel James. In terms of Victor Lindelof's performance yesterday, he's a player who has come into a lot of scrutiny recently. And he came into the team yesterday and he did he did have a very good performance, even when Axel Tuanzebe was someone that we were all shouting for to get into the team. Like, Owen, how would you kind of assess Victor Lindelof yesterday?
He was probably our best. He was brilliant at the back, to be honest. I'm surprised with Axel getting admitted from the team, but he did do a good job yesterday, Lindelof. I mean, the commentator said, I don't know, did he get man of the match, or was it himself and Thiago Silva? He was probably one of the best players we had on the pitch, to be honest. I thought he was solid at the back, so was Maguire. In terms of our defensive performance, there was no issue with it. It was just creating chances and going forward. We just seemed to lack that thing. And if, like, as you said earlier, Tim, like when Cavani had that chance, I thought it was in. I mean, I was literally there about to take the shirt off and wave around my head. But sadly, it wasn't to be. But I think Cavani, in terms of trying to take some positive notes out of the game, Cavani coming on and proving that he can get in those areas and make those chances happen.
He changed it.
I feel like he will be a good option for us going forward this season. I think he could definitely get upwards 10, 15 goals easily. I think you'll see. I think he'll probably start against Leipzig. I'm hoping he does anyway, but you never know with Ollie, man. It's just the team selection is the one. Well, he just seems to get it wrong quite a lot.
But the thing, like, did anybody, like, I know obviously I agree with the Dan James thing, but I'm just wondering, with Greenwood coming back from injury, was there a thought there that maybe that he didn't think that Greenwood or Cavani for that matter, like Cavani's just been in training, right? So clearly he's not match fit. Was there a thought there? Do you think that maybe, because I was wondering that when I saw it, right? Like, okay, you got to go with Dan James simply because he doesn't think that Greenwood is capable of going 90 minutes coming back from whatever injury he had. And then Cavani, of course, I mean, you'd almost rather, for me, like I can kind of see the reasoning where you put out that first 11, you keep it tight, and then you come in with your difference makers if you need to at the end of the game. And like, it just, I mean, I totally agree with the James thing. And then with the Tuanzebe thing, I just think that with him coming with his injury record and coming back from such a long layoff, to have him play back-to-back games against two like electric front lines like that I just think that I don't have an issue with that one, just because I think that he'll be more suited maybe for the Leipzig game in terms of what he's going to have to cope with, and having to cope with PSG, then Chelsea in such a short window with his injury record.
Well, if we're sparing him, then save him for Arsenal, because I'm more worried about Arsenal than I am about Leipzig.
Yeah, like
Arsenal are bogeys.
Like, you can even see Lindelof or Maguire. Like, if Lindelof goes in and plays against Arsenal, and again, like they've likes of Nicolas Pepe, Aubameyang, Saka, they're very like quick and electric, pacey players like that. You need a Tuanzebe in there, not only for his pace but his physical attributes as well, and to absolutely get best chance of keeping a clean sheet. Another thing I'd like to come to you lads about is Donny Van De Beek, because again, like after the game yesterday, Patrice Evra was very vocal about the signing of Donny Van De Beek, and almost to me, it seems like he has an agenda at this point, because his boy Paul Pogba, he wants him in the midfield and he wants him to be playing there. I love Evra. I love how he's passionate about the club. But for me, this Van De Beek nonsense that he's going on about, like, I feel like it's more agenda driven. I don't know how you feel, but I'd like to get your thoughts kind of with regards to that.
In terms of Evers' thoughts on Van De Beek, or just in general? Like, because the fan base is in
just the general consensus, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the fan base is in meltdown. I'm just going to relocate. Give me one sec, guys. Sorry. I apologize. But the fan base is just in complete meltdown. It's one of those things where if you look at the team that we fielded and the system that Solskjaer set up, sorry, Keane. Sorry about that. If you look at the system that he set up,
such a polite Canadian, just living up to those stereotypes, man. Oh, the
system that he played yesterday with the 4-2-3-1, and I agree with Owen that I don't have as much of an issue with Fred McTominay, because I think that you need a little more steel and a little more graft in that with the two in that midfield in front of the back four. If you're looking at, is Van De Beek going to come in and play over Bruno? With the way that we are set up, and I'm just not sure he is. I'm just not sure that you're going to have that Van de Beek is going to come in and replace him at this point with what Van de Beek has done and what Bruno has done. I'm just not sure if that's a change that's going to be made. So
your missus weren't playing about with that door, mate. She just slammed it straight shut.
She ain't happy. But so for me, like, that's the thing, is I think it really comes down to, with the way we were set up, it comes down to whether he comes in for Bruno. And I'm just not sure at this point if he does. Where I have more of an issue with Van de Beek is, like, a game against Chelsea, you need that protection in front of the back four, which you're going to get, I think, better from McTominay and Fred. Where I have an issue is the games where we need to break teams down. Why? Like, you could easily play Van de Beek in that sort of deeper lying role. You could play Bruno in the number 10, and you could play Pogba and Van de Beek in that deeper lying role, and at least to try it, because we haven't seen that. And then, that way Van de Beek's got the option of getting forward and starting the attack from deep and joining the attack. But in a game like yesterday, again, it comes down to me whether he's playing over Bruno, and I just don't think he is.
Yeah, like, I suppose when you put it into like that perspective, and if you're going to play that 4-2-3-1, then yes, and then maybe, Van de Beek maybe doesn't come into that side as an automatic starter.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with this is, and it's more of an issue with Ollie that I'm kind of having, is that he's kind of resigned to this 4-2-3-1 system. And again, for certain games, it's okay when you don't have the ball. But like, as you said to him, when it's against teams that we're going to break down, like though your Burnleys, though your Brightons, your Crystal Palace, you name it, teams who are going to sit there with a low block and do 9-10 players behind the ball, you need to be playing a 4-3-3. You need to be playing something more dynamic to break these teams down and get your best players into the side. Mm-hmm. Like, I seen it mentioned yesterday, and I kind of agreed with the comment. It was, is Ollie playing this certain starting 11 long term, or is he only doing this to get results? Do you know what I mean? To kind of not concede goals, because at the end of the day, we have players like Paul Pogba, Donny Van De Beek, Bruno Fernandes. Now, I know it's impossible to get all them into one team, but at the same time, you have to get at least 2 out of the 3. Because you look at all the other midfields of that quality in the league. You look at City, you look at Liverpool, you look at Chelsea. Yes, you'd have one holding midfield player, but after that, you'd have 2 creative midfielders. And you've seen that even yesterday with Chelsea. They had Kante, but then they had like a Jorginho in there who is a creator, and they did have a Kai Havertz. Even though they actually played a back 3 yesterday, they still managed to go in and get them players into the side. So again, that's one. I'm never vocal and I never criticize Ollie, but in terms of team selection, sometimes he does have to learn how to adapt, and I think that's something that he might grow with, like in the job maybe later on down the line, and that he might grow with himself in that regard. Like, Owen, like what do you make of the whole Van de Beek situation?
I'm sort of worried that a lot of people's original thoughts were just like it was just a hush signing to keep the fans on side and a bit of a mercenary, whatever, and just not an Ollie player, not what he wanted more from the boardroom side. And I think he just doesn't. I don't think Ollie likes him by the looks of it. He's only started him against Luton in the cup. Like, he's not getting any game time whatsoever. He hasn't put a foot wrong when he's had a United shirt on. Like, he was brilliant when he came on against Newcastle. Started the build up with that second goal, with that brilliant pass through to Bruno. Actually, he's looked fantastic. Anytime he's been on the pitch for us, it's just in terms of fitting him into the side. I just think Ollie's unhappy with what he was given by the board. He wasn't given his main targets. I think he really wanted Grealish and he really wanted Sancho. Those were his main 2, and he hasn't got either of them. And I just don't think he's an Ollie. I just don't think Ollie wanted him. And I can just see it being a bit of a shit show for a while, to be honest. Like with Mkhitaryan first time for us, he didn't play for us pretty much for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, remember he was flip-flopping out the side, and then he was injured.
Yeah. He played against City, and then he had the worst half I've ever seen anyone in a United shirt. Came off and didn't play for about 2 months.
See, when Van de Beek, I remember when Van de Beek signed, Ole was talking about it, and they were both talking about it, and they were saying, like, Van de Beek was saying that when he talked to the manager, he was told that he wanted him playing higher up the pitch and closer to the opposition 18-yard box. So if he maintains this same system, like I was saying, he's not playing over Bruno, right? So Keane's right. You either need you either need to change the system to get them both in the side, to have them both playing higher up the pitch, like an inverted 4-3-3, if that's how you're going to play, but to get them both playing, in that sort of playing on the edge of the 18-yard box, consistently. Otherwise, he's starting play from deep, like we've seen him do, where he drops back, collects the ball, and breaks the lines for us, and then joins the attack when he has played. If that doesn't,
he does it really well.
Yeah. Well, that what are you talking? Like dropping deep, dropping into a deeper
in
position?
terms of dropping deep and playing from that, he can do that really well. So I don't see why he isn't brought in to do that more often. Yeah,
he can. That's the thing. Like he moves around the pitch so well. That's why I've been calling for it when we play teams like the teams like we were just talking about that we need to break down. That Keane, like you were saying, they sit in a low block and sit deep and really compress the lines. There's the opportunity there for us to get them both forward and have Bruno and Van de Beek operating on the edge of the opposition 18-yard box and break teams down. That's where I think we can see the three of them in the team together with Bruno, because you don't need a traditional number 6 in that instance. And Van de Beek covers so much ground that he's going to be able to get back and lend support to the back four if he has to.
Yeah, and you look at this potential system of 4-3-3 that you could use. Yeah. Like even if you had a Fred who actually played very well there against Seville at the end of last season when we played him in the semi-final, albeit we lost that game, but Fred done a fantastic job in that sitting role.
Yeah.
And you look at teams like Manchester City who would have like a Fernandinho in there who would do kind of a similar job in terms of being the mobile holding midfielder, receive the ball from the centre halves, and then let the other two midfielders do it. Like I think United could play that similar system with the midfielders we have, where you play the pivot midfield with two attacking midfielders. And I think Joe Fernandez and Van de Beek would be ideal for that role. Now, again, Pogba FC will probably come at me now and say, like, Joe Pogba has to get in the team. But you look at, if all he wants to maintain a good system and also have break down the teams and have balance, I think 4-3-3 is the way forward. Have Fred in there as the holding midfielder or in the Nemanja Matic, whoever you want to have in there, who can play that holding role. And then you have the two lads in there, Van de Beek and Bruno, who are energetic. And not only energetic, but they're also creative. And that's where I think that system could be used, especially against these teams who are going to park the bus. Because let's not forget, we're playing Arsenal on the weekend, but they're a team who's going to predominantly park the bus. That's what they've been playing this year. They've been playing sit between the ball and counter-attack down that left channel. So, again, that's definitely what we can do this week.
Well, that's what Chelsea did the same thing. I mean, whereas the 4-1 game or 4-0 game last season, 4-1 or 4-0, I forget, where they came at us and it was this counterattack and they let us counterattack. Whereas, yesterday they knew that they're just taking the blueprint of what all the other teams are doing and sitting deep and making us break them down, right? So, Arsenal's going to do the same thing.
Yeah, that's our
but Cavani is going to make David Luiz his bitch. That's what's going to happen. Cavani is going to make David Luiz and Gabriel Malagas his bitches, and he's going to absolutely tear them apart. That's what's going to happen there, boys.
100%. Looking ahead, obviously, we have a Champions League game, group stage game coming up against RB Leipzig. And look, I suppose we're on the back of a very fantastic result in the Champions League against Paris Saint-Germain. We went to the Parc des Princes and we dominated for large parts of that game. How are you feeling about this game against Leipzig? Like, are you confident? Look, we're unbeaten in the last 3. We're coming up against a team, Joe, who did do very well in the Champions League last season. They are a strong side. Like, are you confident coming into this week's game?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're putting together a decent little mini run here. I know that we, probably should have picked up 3 points yesterday, but how can you not go and put in the performance like we did in France and not be confident coming into this game, right? We've got the players certainly to go there and get a result. We have a good base with the 3 points that we picked up in Paris. So, you go there and hopefully, you got to feel confident going to Germany for sure. I am.
And in terms of Leipzig, they do have players. So they've Poulsen, they've Upamecano, they have decent players in there who could potentially cause us problems, not only from set pieces, but from kind of open play as well. Like, are you feeling confident with our defence that we can sustain Leipzig? Because we did wrap a showing now in kind of the last couple of games there. Our defence is starting to come together kind of after a shaky start.
Yeah, I mean, Leipzig are a good side, and I think they're top of the Bundesliga at the moment, actually. They're flying at the start of the year. They beat Istanbul 2-0, I think. The ex-City lad, Angelino, got 2. I remember seeing it because it was just very weird because he's a left-back and he scored twice. They signed that Sorloth as well. He did quite well in Turkey last year. They've got a lot of threat going forwards. I don't know, to be honest. It's a bit of a weird one. They did turn over Tottenham very well last year in the Champions League, but they've lost Werner. Could be a different setup. I quite fancy us as well because it's at Old Trafford. I don't know. I just fancy us to do.
Yeah, like I think with it being at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it's Old Trafford. What am I talking about? Going to Germany. Sorry. The hell am I talking about? It's Old Trafford.
Yeah, but even like with it being at Old Trafford, obviously like Leipzig would have to travel. They'll have to obviously kind of isolate in the hotel before the game. All these little things like could obviously have an effect on them. Sure. I look at this like we haven't won in Old Trafford now, is it, in the last 4 games? So I think it's absolutely massive that we win this game at Old Trafford. Kind of end this barren run that we have at Old Trafford at the moment. I am confident because the opposition that we played in recent weeks, and we have showed now that we can progress, we can play better. I believe though we can get a result on this week in the Champions League. In terms of your predicted 11s, lads, in terms of starting 11s, who would you be starting? What system would you be playing? Any other big name players, are they getting dropped? Like Tim, I'm going to come to you first. Like we just lost Owen there, but I'm going to come to you first. Like, what is your starting 11 like, and what system would you play?
Well, I think he's going to play the 4-2-3-1. There's no reason. I mean, I think he'll look at that game and think there's, not a pressing reason to go to a back 5 or the 3-5-2. So I don't think it's a game necessarily where he needs to play with wing backs. I think he'll probably go with the 4-2-3-1. Martial obviously he walks into the team simply because he's going to be available. He's still got a game left on his a game or 2 left in terms of his red card. So I'm sure Martial will be there, whether he leads the line or whether like it's Owen saying that he drops to a wide position and Cavani comes in as your number 9. It might be a game where, again, depending on what he has for Cavani. I mean, if you're saving Cavani for Arsenal, then maybe go with Martial as the 9, and you're looking at a front 3 of Martial, Greenwood, and Rashford, or even James again. Save Rashford for the Arsenal game. So he's got options. It might be a game too where this might be the game that Van de Beek starts. He morphed himself. It's Owen's kid. So this might be a game where Van de Beek starts with the Arsenal game in mind, because it's such a thick run of fixtures coming up. Maybe Van de Beek comes in and replaces Bruno. So that might be it. And then Matic, maybe you go with the Matic again in that game as well. Give him a bit of a run. And then in the back, Tellez probably comes back in. He's probably saving Shaw for Arsenal. Aaron Wan-Bissaka wide on the right. Maybe Dino comes in for this one, right? The game's at Old Trafford, so maybe it's a chance to give him a game. And then it just comes down to does Lindelof partner Maguire, or is it Twansby that partners Maguire for me?
And like Owen, what would be your starting 11 prediction and kind of your system in terms of how you'd line United up this week?
I'm tempted to look at maybe doing a 3-5-2 because it did work quite well, or the 5-3-2 or whatever you want to call it. It did work really well against PSG, and it has worked really well for us in the past. I don't know. I just see Ole kind of keeping a similar sort of shape to the one that he set out against Chelsea. I would like to see Henderson get a game, but I personally can't see it in the Champions League. I don't think he's ever dropping De Gea in the Champions League. I don't think De Gea would take that well personally. So I'd say De Gea is going to come straight into the side. Probably Telles. I really hope Telles comes in over Shaw. I think Telles should be starting every game for us now. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right back. And then I'd say, I think Axel alongside Maguire. Midfield, I'd say I agree with Tim. I'd like to see Matic get into the side again. He hasn't played for a bit now. Give him a game alongside Matic, maybe Matic, and then I'd say Van De Beek as well in that 10. And Fred is as a free. Oh no, not Fred actually. Pogba over Fred maybe, I think, because Pogba needs to be starting games now. And then up top, Cavani, Rashford, Marshall.
Yeah, look, that's an interesting lineup again. Pogba come back into the side, which I actually look at the end of the day. We have to kind of rotate this midfield because you have quality in there. And it's I suppose it's a problem, but sometimes it can be a good problem. Again, I'm going to go with De Gea in goal. Again, look, I don't think Dean Henderson comes in at this stage. Again, De Gea is probably one mistake away, probably from being out of the team at the moment. But again, as long as he's playing well, may that continue. So I definitely see De Gea staying in goal. Again, Wan-Bissaka at right back, that's just undisputed. That's never going to change. I'm going to go with the same centre-back partnership that Owen went to. I'm going to go with Axel Tuanzebe and Harry Maguire. This could be a long-term centre-back partnership that we could have going forward. So I'd like to see that there on Tuesday night. A left-back go Alex Telles. Again, look, I'm a firm believer Luke Shaw needs to get phased out of this team if we're going to play a back four. I think, again, yesterday he didn't impress me. Again, going forward, he really offers us nothing. And in this formation, you're going to have a good attacking left back. I'm going to go with my three in midfield. I'd like to see Fred playing there as the sitting midfielder. He done well there in the Seville game last season, and he is mobile enough to play that role. Especially with a Leipzig team that are going to counter-attack, we're going to need a mobile midfielder. I'm going to go with Donny Van De Beek, starting in there alongside Bruno Fernandes as well. Again, look, Paul Pogba, I know he has to play games. But for me, I think Van de Beek, every time he's played this season, he's done very well in a United shirt. He hasn't put a foot wrong, whereas Pogba has. So I think Van de Beek does to start. And again, I'm going to go with front three of Cavani, Marcus Rashford, and Anthony Martial. So I'm going to go Martial off the left, I'm going to go Rashford off the right, and Cavani up top. I think Mason Greenwood still coming back to fitness, so Mason Green would definitely make an appearance after about 60 minutes.
I just feel like Bruno needs a rest this game though. In terms of, I just don't want to see him tire out, just because of the glut of fixtures that we have, and the whole point of us signing Van de Beek, that as we had stated, was that we didn't have to play Bruno and Pogba every game. We could rotate. So look, he is our best. He is our best player. There's no two ways about that. Yeah. But he can't play every game. He needs to have some sort of a rest. And I know this is a massive game in the Champions League, but at the end of the day, Van de Beek is more than capable of coming in and fulfilling that role for the time. Yeah.
Yeah, you can even look at that. You can maybe take Bruno aside and play Pogba in that advanced role if you want to do that. If you want to play Donny there, you can absolutely do that. I suppose.
I think Donny in that advanced role, and then Pogba and Matic as your midfield too, especially with Pogba getting the rest. He came on later in the game against Chelsea, right? Matic didn't even play. Well, Matic or Van de Beek, so your midfield's pretty fresh going into Leipzig if you play those three.
Yeah, and again, with Ollie, I think with Bruno, he's just undroppable in kind of Ollie's eyes. But again, we'll see. It'd be interesting to see kind of the midfield three. So he does decide to go with, regardless of what happens, whether Bruno starts, he comes off the bench. I know for a fact he's scoring a penalty anyway. Against Leipzig.
The shithousery of Keane, love it.
Oh, stop! I love it. I love it. Every time I get abuse in the comments on the video afterwards, and I love it. I absolutely love it. In terms of score predictions, I'm going to come to you first, Owen. What do you predict the game to finish this week?
I reckon it's going to be a bit of a mad game. I think it'll be quite high scoring. I think it'll be. I'm going to go a bit mental and say 3-2 United.
I'm going for another clean sheet. I'm going 2-0 United. Keep the
Oh,
clean
mate.
sheets coming. Keep the clean sheets coming.
There's more chance of a clean sheet in the Scouse girls' room, mate. Oh.
Dead. I'm dead.
That's because of fake tan, not anything else, you dirty bastards. Oh, come on. Come on, lads.
You crack me up. You really do. You really do. In terms of my score prediction, I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet, but I think Joe we'll win 2-1. Again, Bruno Fernandes gets on the score sheet. Joe, water is wet, and I fancy Martial to get one. So he has a bit of a poor scoring record in the Champions League, but I'd like to see him kind of put that to bed during the week, and we see Martial get on the score sheet. In that regard, that'd be good to see. In terms of your socials, lads, we're just at the end of the show there now. Owen, do you want to give your socials there a shout out?
Yeah, Cockney Red 99, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on YouTube, and Owen Roch 1 on Instagram if you want to see me just taking the piss out of general life.
Tim, do you want to give your socials a shout out?
Yeah, Niagara MUFC for the Niagara Supporters Club over here, and then Niagara Red is my personal account where you can. I'm not as I don't live as I live vicariously through Owen, so I'll retweet a lot of his stuff if you want, but my life's pretty boring.
And again, look, as always, guys, you can follow me at Keane_Franey on Twitter, and do check out our Twitter page at Weekly Armchair. And again, check out my Twitter if you want to see my Bruno Fernandes propaganda. It's there every single day. Do check that out. And again, look, as always, do like and subscribe to the Weekly Armchair Kickoff on YouTube. There's a lot more content coming this week. And our London Club show, again, is back this Thursday as well. So the lads will be hosting that one. And lads, thanks very much for coming on this evening. Look, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your week.
Cheers, mate.
No worries. Top man.